Hey friends, May is Feminist Frequency's 12th birthday. Can you believe it? 12 years of feminist media criticism, of working to end abuse in the games industry. So if you want to keep us going for another 12 years, please consider donating today. You can visit feministfrequency.com for more info.
He must know everything about her, because to know everything about her gives him power over her and power over the relationship. It was never going to be two-way, even if she did have access.
Welcome to Feminist Frequency Radio. This is the show that asks you to be critical of the media you love. I'm Anita Sarkeesian, and I'm joined today by two women who don't need chips in their brains to be fully connected to each other. Oh, that's so good. What up, Carolyn Pettit?
Hey, hey.
And Ebony Adams, do you two have something to tell me about your relationship?
Yeah, what I have to tell you is that if Carolyn actually had to see through my eyes and had access to my thoughts, she would be even more and justifiably suspicious of me.
I feel like it'd be really boring. Sorry, Ebony.
It probably would be, but the times that weren't boring would be horrifying.
Sure. The cooking would be worth it, though. Hey, can I get in on this? Can we be a triad?
Yeah, but the problem is you might see me cooking, but you wouldn't get to eat it, so that's not
But
good,
I don't like smells, apparently, so.
All right, Byron.
All right, this week we're talking about Made for Love, an HBO Max original series that presents a darkly comic tale of technology invading every aspect of our lives. Stick around. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hi.
We just bantered. We bantered too early.
There's no such thing as too much bants.
That was just such a good intro, Carolyn.
More bants.
All right, what do you want to bant about?
I don't know, but I do want to say that we should offer a content warning for talk of suicide, potentially, in the main today. I might bring it up, so just be aware of that.
Good thinking, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
We're so bad about it. We always have to do it retroactively.
Thanks, champ.
My voice might sound terrible because I've been sick. I'm better now, but my throat is a little fucked up. So, that's my content warning. I did not mean to like denigrate or ridicule content warnings by saying that.
Too late.
I know.
Too late.
Fuck. Do you have a content warning, Carolyn?
I don't. I wish I did. I should have.
Severe emotional energy.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to just talk about this fucking show?
Yeah.
Sure.
I like it. I didn't mean it that way. I meant it in the whatever. All right.
Did you like the show?
I did.
I mean, I know we're gonna get into it. Okay, good. Because I was so worried.
Were you?
I was, because I was like, oh man, I have a feeling Anita's not gonna like this, and I'm gonna feel bad for.
I feel like
suggesting.
I feel like this show is kind of made for me.
Well, that's kind of what I thought, but then I was like, I second guessed myself. Anyways, let's get into it.
I started watching it before, I started watching it just because it popped up on HBO, and I was like, interesting. And then I realized we were talking about it on the show and was like, oh, well, that worked out really well.
Oh, cool.
Cool. All right. So here's our little blurb about what we're talking about in case you haven't been following.
All right. Well, in the past 20 years or so, technology has, I think we can all agree, radically transformed how so many of us live our lives. But are all these modern advancements empowering us or limiting us? For Hazel Green-Gogol, played by Cristin Milioti in Made for Love, the answer is obvious. But then, Hazel has a more intimate relationship with technology than most of us. Her husband, Byron Gogol, is seen by the world as one of its leading tech visionaries. In reality, he's a controlling, deeply insecure narcissist whose latest venture, called Made for Love, would allow couples to know every thought and desire their partner experiences. He's even taken the liberty of implanting Hazel with the Made for Love chip without her consent. As the show begins, she makes her escape from Byron's compound, where she's effectively been a prisoner for the past 10 years, while flashbacks fill us in on the history of her relationship with Byron and the events that drove her to break free. Made for Love is a humorous yet unsettling look at the kind of tech bro arrogance that thinks it knows what's best for humanity without ever really understanding what makes us human.
And the episode's done.
All right. I know, that's a
Said it all.
Such a good intro. He said it all. Okay, Ebony, why don't you start? Because I'm curious why you were worried I wouldn't like it.
Well, okay, so I saw the blurb for it on HBO Max. And also, can I just say, HBO Max is offering up some great shows right now. And I'm not just talking about the Great Pottery Throwdown, but Caro and I have been bonding over Mare of Easttown. Y'all get into it. So I saw the, like the thumbnail picture for Made for Love and just the little blurb that's like, blah, blah, a woman, has to escape from her husband who's trying to implant a, controlling surveillance chip in her or whatever. And I was like, whoa, gender, relationships, technology sounds like something we should talk about on the podcast. But I wasn't actually expecting to like it because from the blurb, I gathered that it was a Black comedy. But I was like, to me, this log line reads like it should be straight up horror, Like I was afraid that the show wasn't going to like sufficiently villainize Byron Gogol, Hazel's husband. And it does, although I think there's a redemption arc that we can talk about that I'm not really on board for. My understanding of the show before I watched it was what this woman has experienced is violation and abuse. And I didn't want there to be like fun poked at that. So I was afraid going into it. But I do think the show actually is quite smart about the ways that it, tackles a lot of these issues. I do think it's, sort of inconsistent sometimes in where like its pointed barbs are actually, aiming. But for the most part, I thought it was pretty smart. And I really do think that although it could have been even more pointed, some of the critiques of capitalism in it are pretty savvy, And I'm not talking about just like, the graffiti on the walls, that you occasionally see in whatever, like, two horseshit town Hazel is from. But there's a scene in I think it's the season finale where, Byron is talking about like, he's in this diner, he's left the hub. And he's saying, look at, all of these people, this guy, he's probably has to leave because there might be like a plumbing issue he's got to deal with. And that woman, she probably walked here because her car's in the shop. In the hub, in this world we've created, there's none of those inconveniences. And Hazel's like, you realize you're just talking about what poor people have to deal with, right? And I was like, yes, exactly. Like if that statement hadn't been made, because that's exactly what I was thinking. Like you're talking about first world problems. You're talking about the ways that like, wealthy people with privilege are able to insulate themselves against the things that poor people are unable to avoid.
Yeah, and taking that one step further too is that, this is obviously a sort of extremist story in a lot of ways, but Byron is trying to control every single aspect of his life, and really, the more money you have, the more you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think like I'm absolutely certain that there's a not insignificant portion of the audience who is watching what Byron has created and thinking, what's wrong with this? This sounds great.
Yeah.
Like for real, like sincerely thinking like, I want my world moderated and curated for me. I don't want there to be any rough edges. I want everything to be hand selected for my comfort and ease. And I am willing to give up so much of my own autonomy and personal freedom for that luxury. And it's horrifying to know that, even at moments, there were times when I was like, you know what, I would like to travel to X, Y, and Z places. But in the rest of the time I have on this earth, I'm not going to get there. If there was a VR cube that actually looked, would I take that option instead? Probably.
I mean, yeah, but I think, I think what you're right about, like, how some viewers probably like would see the appeal in what Byron does, or the sort of, I don't know. It's hard for me to like imagine Elon Musk stands, for instance, not seeing what Byron does and feeling like, well, but he's like earned it. Like he earns the right. So like it's his, he's a billionaire. He's like, because he has the vision and he's like the one who like has the ideas that make all the money or whatever. But I mean, I think technology, technology is obviously in some ways it's really central to the show. And I think the way that that Byron is a very specific and I think to a lot of us familiar type of just tech bro is fascinating. But I think there's also a way in which like the technology is just a device, a storytelling device to explore in, I think, a really accurate and effective and, often unsettling way, like a particular fairly commonplace type of relationship with a narcissistic, controlling, like deeply insecure man, right? And like so many women, experience, I think, a kind of abuse that is very similar to what Hazel experiences in this show. And there's like a kind of gaslighting element to it as well, because like, there's that moment in this series where, for instance, Hazel is trying to explain what she's been through to this lawyer guy, and he's like laughing and saying like, sign me up, or whatever. Like, sounds pretty good to me, honey, whatever. But like laughing off her abuse, but what she experienced absolutely was and is abuse, right? Like that kind of, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's really very insightful about just like that particular type of relationship dynamic, right? With a man who provides for you, etc., like, or whatever, like creates a quote unquote nice life for you, but you have to you're expected to literally give up everything, including your friends, right? I mean, the way
your family
he cuts her off from like her friends and her family and her whole she has no other support network, no other meaningful connections of any kind, really. Like all of that to me is very like, it rings very true, right? It's very common.
Yeah. The way that he has regimented her life for her under the guise of offering her choice and taking care of her. So she has alarms that remind her that it's her nap time, which immediately then feed into, this executive assistant, Bennett, I think, who comes in and asks her, would you like these kinds of wine glasses? Or, later once Hazel has made her escape and Byron is, attempting to lure her back into the hub by recreating something for her that she says she has missed from the real world, which is smells. He's going to create a VR smell cube, then Bennett comes to her and offers her these little glass vials of Versat smells, to see which one she likes. But ultimately, yes, all of it is guided by Byron's deep insecurity and narcissism, as you say, Caro. But it just reminds me of the ways that, we, the kind of like the optimization of like health and wellness, and the industry surrounding that has arisen, eating flavor cubes, only, not being inefficient with the amount of sleep you get. So everything has to be optimized. Everything has to be planned out and regimented. And there's an illusion of choice there, but really the choice is imposed on you from without. And, as you said, Anita, there's this idea that someone like Elon Musk or, Bill Gates or Byron Gogol, by virtue of having made so much money, have somehow ascended to a position in which they can dictate the choices of others. And for so many of us, we are willing to cede our independence and our freedom to these people. Like there's this deep belief that, you've made billions of dollars. That must mean that you're smarter than I am. And so I should trust you with some of these incredibly personal, intimate choices. And it's horrifying. It's ludicrous, and the series plays with that. But I think it also does, suggest like, what are you willing to give up to have the latest phone or to have, a smart house or to, be the perfect weight and, have a perfect work-life balance, whatever that means.
Yeah. I love a story that like can show authentically abusive relationships and emotionally abusive relationships. I've probably talked about this a million times. And so I was pleasantly surprised at how they were able to take this comedy and make it, sincere and really like show ways that abuse manifests and how you get stuck in it, even if it is, a little extreme for comedy's sake. To not super extreme actually to some degree, but it's like Black Mirror-ish type, right? And Carolyn, what you were talking about in terms of like alienating you from everyone you love and everyone in your life, I was thinking about that in terms of the fact that like in the show, oh my gosh, what is the name of Kristin's character? Hazel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hazel.
Hazel at one point says to her father, like, you wonder why I just married a guy I just met, right? Like, look at this. Look at how you treat me. Look at this life.
Yeah, she says girls with crap fathers run away with narcissists, right?
But I will also add, I just want to say that, like, one thing about the way that abusive relationships work is regardless of how connected you are to your friends or family, which it sounded like Hazel wasn't, but even if she was or someone is, the way that abusive people operate is to isolate you, right? So the manifestation of the hub and the manifestation of like that isolation doesn't just come when people aren't connected to the world, right? Is that making sense? I just think that that's an interesting an interesting observation that, like, obviously it made sense in this world and for Hazel, but like that is such it's a prime directive of abusive men specifically, but abusive behavior in general.
And Byron is so, I think, I believe that Byron, like a lot of narcissists, and like, I believe he actually believes that he is a good guy. Like, I think, and so he does this thing sometimes where there are like a few points in the series, I think, where like he cries and like, but it's but it's not like true sensitivity or vulnerability. It's like manipulative kind of, it's like crying. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's a crying, I think, born, it seems to me anyway, born out of like a desire, like a belief, first of all, that his emotions and his inner experience is the only one that matters at all. And like, and also, the desire to kind of to control other people. I mean, I think there's also like a moment where at one point he says something like, I'm going to kill myself, which is like so like classic kind of manipulator, language, right? As a way of like, if you leave me, I'm gonna hurt myself, or I'm gonna kill myself, kind of thing. So I don't know. I just like Byron to me is so. I mean, he's awful, like just so awful. But I'm fascinated by the complexity of his awfulness in this series.
And I should know, I loved so many of the performances in this show. Ray Romano as Hazel's dad is fantastic. Yeah. And I love the way this show offers him as a counterpoint to Byron, because Ray Romano's dad, and this is not a spoiler by any means, you see this in the first episode, he has a sex doll, an intimate partner, a synthetic partner. That's right. He has a synthetic companion named Diane, who he has his version of a relationship with. And this ultimately represents another kind of extreme of the the projection of his desires, his masculine desires on what is like the ne plus ultra, finally like the feminine version, like the receptacle of everything he wants in a relationship without an ability to offer argument, to choose to do something else, to leave, he wants ultimately the same thing Byron wants. Byron has just done it in a more socially acceptable way.
Yeah, I found the sex doll metaphor interesting because it's so overt. It is so aggressively obvious what's happening there. But also, like, it works. Like, I don't know. At first, I was kind of like, oh, fuck. Like, I don't know how this is going to go, what this is going to be like. And, like, the way that Hazel interacts with her over time changes and shifts. Like, our sort of acceptance of Diane, like we start to accept it more in a way that it makes me a little uncomfortable.
Well, and we learn a little bit more about why his character, may be fearful of at that point in his life with close connections with an actual woman,
Yeah, but at the same time, it's fucking creepy as shit, and it's about like these women that you can control and that don't talk back, and like all of that. And so I found that disturbing, but in a way that I'm like, oh yeah, like that makes sense.
I wanted to talk about one particular scene involving that character too, just on a kind of personal note for me. Like, so what's his? Does anyone remember what his character's name is?
Herbert.
Herbert, of course. Oh my God, you say that and it's like, of course. How could I have forgotten? But so Herbert, there's a scene where he goes to a restaurant with Diane, and and Hazel like goes ahead and is like, tells the like wait staff like, just please pretend she's real. Like, Hazel is like trying to give her dad like this, like a chance at a quasi normal like experience. And I will say, and we may get a lot of angry letters from the synthetic companion community for me saying this. I don't think having a synthetic companion is quote unquote valid. Like, I don't think it's like, a substitute. Like, but like, taking
you can find her at Carolyn Michelle on Twitter.
Right. But still, having said that, like, so there's a scene where they're at he and Diane are at this table at the restaurant, and this waiter comes out, and the waiter gives like a kind of nervous, like a laugh, like, a bit of like, are you kidding me? And then does this like, asks, what's, what can I get you? And, what is she having? But it's clear that the waiter is like humoring Herbert in a way. And I don't know, I just felt like I so often feel in the world, like, as somebody who's either like so often just misgendered straight up, or even when people don't misgender me, so often I can tell that they are just like, in their minds, like humoring me, like they, or like doing a kind of performance of like seeing me as a woman and like seeing me as like as a woman. Like, I know that so well, and it's like, it's awful, and it's like an awful way of having to like experience the world all the time. And so I did feel this like pang of sympathy in a way for Herbert in that moment of like just that awareness of like, nobody really buys into what you're doing here, Herbert, like kind of thing. Anyway, it was this weird feeling for me because I'm not like on board with what you're doing at all, and yet like I feel some sympathy for you in this moment, and I felt a lot of sympathy for his character for all kinds of reasons throughout the series. And I think Ray Romano is great at playing like functionally depressed,
sad sack,
sad sack in this series.
I never want to like Ray Romano because he seems like such a fucking douchebag, and like his show was garbage and whatever, but he was so good in this.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Like he really
really was. And I mean, really, when I say the performances, like Byron is reprehensible, but Billy is his name Billy Magnussen, the actor. Yeah. I found him so funny. I found him so incredibly funny. And Cristin Milioti is great. The guy who plays Bennett is great. Like, they're just these, characters who appear for small bits, these side characters, these, and they just people the world with, like, I found the show incredibly hilarious to watch, and I just think like tonally it worked for me pretty much, start to finish. I mean, it's only, I think, 8 episodes or something, but
no, it's 8, but they're like breezy half-hour episodes.
Yeah,
so it goes by.
I clearly stopped taking notes after episode 6.
I will say that I messed up somehow. I think like my HBO Max app stuttered or something, and so it jumped ahead. I thought I was going to be watching episode 4, and it went to episode 8 instead, and I didn't realize until like half an hour into it. There's a way in which each episode, even though there's a serialized aspect to it, and there's a through line of the narrative, there's still something so self-contained about each episode. And so like the questions that I had and the kind of like weirdness of it was of a piece, and it made total sense to me that like there would be a new character that I wouldn't have known. And I just thought, oh, it will be explained to me later, that this is someone from the hub, or this is actually a flashback that I didn't catch. I think this, I haven't read the book that this is based on. It's based on a book called Made for Love by Alyssa Nutting, but I'm interested to go read it now and see, because it's just, I think it is incredibly hard sometimes to translate something from the written word to the screen, but I enjoyed watching. I loved the look of this show. The fake ads for Gogol products were absolutely perfect aesthetically. you know, like the font choice, the ways, the 21st century colors of Benetton bullshit, of the ads. I just thought it was really smartly put together.
Yeah, one of the things, so Fiffany is one of the scientists that works on Made for Love. She's probably like a biologist, or she works with animals. And there's a whole storyline about her husband coming in, but then they never like explain who her husband is or why he would want the tech. Like that just kind of dropped away. I thought that was weird.
Or it may be more of a thing in season 2.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Or like they filmed it and cut those scenes because they just didn't fit or whatever, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to talk a little bit about the tech if we can.
Yeah.
Itself. So, the idea of the Made for Love product is that you are in sync with each other. So like the way that Byron explained it is that they will become a singular living God.
Oh my gosh,
and like,
those wedding vows.
Yeah. And the idea is that you're so in sync that you'll never fight because you'll fully, truly understand each other because you're in each other's brains, right? And it also kind of got me thinking about, there's a show on Netflix that I can't remember the name of, and I only watched the pilot, and it was so bad I didn't continue watching it. But it's about this company that like finds you your soulmate, right? That like of all the people in the world, you do like a DNA test and then you find the one true person. And so at least in the pilot, so obviously the company is nefarious, but in the pilot, there's all this stuff around like people who didn't find their partners through this app. Like they're like, are you going to do it? Are you going to like leave me? Are you going to like, who's going to be a part of this and who isn't? Because like, if this is the truth, then what are we? And it just reminded me of this larger theme of like, love and relationships and how do you know and how do you make it work and like the technologizing, the technophiling, the techno
keep going. Yes.
Of companionship, right? Is like a few steps above online dating or whatever. So anyways, I just thought that's interesting. I think that's like, this is a theming, like love is obviously a constant theme that humans talk about forever, but the idea of like using technology to fix it or to solve it as if it's something to be solved, I think is really interesting. In this case, it's fascinating to me because like, so what happens is so far, Byron announces this technology before they finalized it. And it works one directional, but as soon as you sync two people together, the original person dies. And so Byron put the chip inside of Hazel's head without her knowing it. That's the whole thing, the whole like one of the big conceits of the whole show. So to me, I'm like, if as the abuser, like why would Byron want to share his internal thinking? Like who the fuck would want to do that? And would this even be appealing? But I do kind of love that they undermine that by being like, well, I'm just going to turn it on and she's going to die and she's going to live in my brain and I can control her virtually, right? Like it didn't really matter at a certain point where he was just like, it was always about having ultimate control over her.
I mean, for me, the idea of like as impractical and as it seems, or the idea that most people would be like, well, I don't want that. I think it's believable because of Byron's arrogance and his his belief that like, well, my ideas are like the best ideas, and like, and he obviously just fundamentally doesn't understand how healthy human relationships actually work at all, or what it means to really know another person. I don't know. I mean, I agree. I mean, but I
think he's, as you pointed out before, Caro, like he actually thinks about himself as the good guy. So I don't think it would occur to Byron that there would be anything that he actually needed to hide. For the most part. And I think he's also arrogant enough to believe that if there were things that should be secret, that he would be able to keep those from her in a way that she would be completely open and transparent to him. He needs to know everything about her from the beginning. Like even if the Made for Love was perfectly operational two-way, I think the whole point for him is to give him more access to Hazel. I mean, there's this hilarious scene. Like the show opens with, after the Shawshank Redemption, crawl through the sewer tube. It opens with Byron performing cunnilingus on Hazel. And I have to admit, I was like, right on. I love when shows actually show, folks getting oral sex, like not blowjobs. Anyway, then after that, you sort of forget that happens, but Hazel isn't even allowed to move on from that. Like there are pop-ups on every bit of smart tech in the home that she rate the orgasm. And not just like, oh, I had a great time, 8 out of 10 or whatever, but like, what was your mood? What was the foreplay? Like breaking it down into like essentially a spreadsheet of feelings and experiences. He must know everything about her, because to know everything about her gives him power over her and power over the relationship. It was never going to be two-way, even if she did have access to his interior monologue. But I also do think the insecurity he feels about her reactions is fundamentally about him being convinced that if she just knew how much he loved her, she would then acquiesce to giving herself more fully to him. And it is a classic kind of, abuser's understanding.
Yeah.
And
it is exactly that, because it's not about actually knowing a person. Because like I was thinking, if somebody if I had a partner who like had some technology in my brain that allowed them to like read my thoughts or whatever, it's like a messy, contradictory, incoherent, like buzzing that would not like in any way help them really like understand me better as a person. But it's not like, that's not where that's just not, that's not how you know a person or understand a person. Like we all, I don't know. It's
none of us is the sum of what the algorithms say we're interested in, we don't like, like you can't,
or like fleeting,
you can't reduce people to, you can't reduce people to equations.
Yeah.
Another thing around the way that they portrayed the abusive relationship that I thought was really smart is that when Hazel went out into the world, people didn't believe that she didn't have access to a phone. Like they didn't believe that she couldn't just call them or visit them. When she's like, I literally was stuck here. And they're like, nah, that's not true. You were living the laps of luxury. You were like, living with the richest man in the world. Da 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 da. And I think that there's something so honest about that, I guess. I'm not sure what the word is I'm looking for, but that like, people don't, they have all these perceptions about what other people's lives are like, right? And not to be like, oh, we should feel bad for rich people or whatever, but like she wasn't, like she was in an abusive relationship. She was trapped in this place and like nobody wanted to take her seriously, like the lawyer or like her friend or her dad or whatever, right? Everyone just kind of gave up on her. Like how fucking tragic, like just how tragic. And I think about her, Byron found her selling knockoff phones that weren't even real to make it like a quick buck. And it's kind of like he tamed a beast, right? He like tamed and controlled this free spirit, this like wild figure, and turned her into this extremely docile, perfect woman for him.
Without giving her the opportunity, like without giving her any time to actually step back and think like, oh no, I don't want to date this guy. I don't want to be this person. Like they literally go on one date and get married, like it happens deliberately so quickly.
People in your life don't like it's little steps that get you to that point, right? Like it is completely believable to me that she would be stuck in the hub. That like, at first it was like, well, hon, why would you want to go anywhere? I can do this. She's like, yeah, you're right. And like over time, there's just more and more, like there's more and more friction set up to make it harder for her to leave, to the point where she's like, holy shit, I didn't realize I bought into this and now I'm stuck, right? Like it was all fabricated on his part. And I don't know. I thought the whole concept was really interesting to me, and I thought done really well. You were talking about the production design. like there's so many pieces of the set design and production design that were beautiful. And like the wedding rings as handcuffs, that shit had me dying. Like when I finally realized what it was, I was like, holy shit, that's genius. It's so fucking good. Like
it was so good, right? Like it reminded me of The Good Place. This kind of like, upscale, like sort of, Scandinavian kind of design, like the fabric hues have been chosen, like everything has been optimized, and this is why like it makes me laugh so hard that Byron hates smells, or as it said in an earlier episode, like he doesn't believe in smell as a sense, and there's that funny scene where once he's agreed to put together a smell cube for Hazel, he's he's testing the different smells, and the one he likes best is the smell of empty glass. Like it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. I wish I had the time to go back and watch Ex Machina after watching this again, because I think like it would have been a great like doubleheader.
I didn't like that movie.
Just these villainous tech bros.
The worst. I would be curious. I don't know. This hasn't been billed as a limited run, so there could be a second season. I would actually, and I don't know if they'll go this direction, but one thing I forgot to mention is that I'm curious how the writers and creators of this show would perceive the public reacting to Made for Love. Like, I'd be curious because we don't see any of that, right? We just see that the investors, the board members, are really excited about it. But like, I'm curious how in this sort of dystopian vision, people would be like, okay, cool, let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. In the I don't know that it's. Has it been? Do we know that it's been made public? Beyond the board, the inner circle.
No, I don't think we know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the next season's about.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, the ending. I mean, I do hope there's a second season, but I think the ending that we do get does work as a kind of gut punch type ending about Byron's power and influence, if we don't get a second season.
Okay, so spoilers for the ending, whatever, that we spoil everything. They take her dad unbeknownst to him into the hub because he has cancer and is dying and won't get treatment. And so like there's a whole host of shit happening here that's really troubling. Like, how is he going to get medical treatment when they don't, like, are they going to knock him out to like do medical treatment on him?
I mean,
how
those
would he
questions
even get it
for
there?
Byron are as, are immaterial.
Useless. But the other thing is that if they do, quote unquote, cure his cancer, then does he continue to live in the hub, not knowing that he's in the hub? And
I mean, they could whisk him back out potentially, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know
either. But I feel like the world of this show, it's like this exaggerated hyper reality, right? Exactly. In a lot of ways. So some of the like logical holes or inconsistencies,
which I don't mind at all. Yeah, I'm not hung up on them. I'm just making conversation.
I love it.
But I loved that scene. I love when she walks out and looks up at the sky and it's like pixelated and she's like, you need to fix that. And like she's saying it in this way where she's almost like taking control, and then then they like hold hands and you're like, no, she's got no fucking control here.
And the whole arrangement allows Byron to maintain his own narrative about himself being like benevolent, like I'm so good, like I'm the good one here, I'm doing all of this, I mean, he has infinite money. It's not like any kind of like imposition or hardship. It's totally about controlling her, and yet he can think of himself as like as like the best guy on the planet.
Yeah, Bill Gates donates a couple $1 million, and isn't he wonderful?
And well, speaking of, I wanted to mention this interesting bit of synchronicity in a way. Right now, as we are recording this, on Twitter, just like an hour ago, Bill Gates announced that he and his wife Melinda Gates are splitting up after 27 years. So
was she living in the hub?
Shit, probably. I saw something, and I don't know that this is accurate, so someone check this for me. I will also try and check. But they were saying that, Bill Gates is part of that. What is the Warren Buffett club, where it's like the billionaires promising to give away their money like the bulk of their wealth or whatever this billionaire boys club is. So Bill and Melinda Gates are part of this this initiative, right? But someone pointed out that Bill Gates is actually worth more now than he was when he, ostensibly started giving away his fortune. And it just gives the lie to the notion that like the philanthropy of a handful of uber wealthy people will ever, serve to dismantle the structures that put them in place or will actually, address inequality. Like it's just a slap in the face. The idea that we should be looking to people like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or fucking Elon cave diving Musk, for the solution to any of society's problems.
You don't think going to Mars is going to solve all our problems, Ebony?
You know what? Let me go to Mars and let the rest of y'all figure it out back here on Earth. That is a solution I can get on board with.
By yourself?
Yeah.
You and your cat?
Listen, hook me up with a hub, Anita.
Would you go?
Girl.
Let's end this.
Yes.
If you two could have a not possessive, right? Like this isn't a controlling possessive relationship, but if you could be in the hub of your making, but never leave, would you do it?
No.
And I'm by myself?
I don't know.
I mean, look.
It doesn't matter if you bring 5 people with you, right? That's fine.
There's for me, that really revealing scene where Hazel wants to go to the concert, the war paint concert, right?
God, that episode.
And Byron is like, sure, of course, we can go. But rather than actually going to the club in LA or wherever, and being in the crowd, with other people and experiencing the energy of the show, he just brings war paint into the hub, and they're in this like fake club like room, this vast empty chamber, and it's just the two of them. And it's like, no, dude, the whole fucking point is to like be in the world and to experience other people in all of their like sweatiness and like rudeness and like inconvenience and annoyance and all of that shit. Like that's
but that's a Byron thing, because when they went to the restaurant in Italy, like there are other people that are not real. So like he could have he just didn't want to, but like you could, in your hub, you can create a world where that concert is full of stinky, smelly, sweaty people.
But they're not, but I mean, if I knew they weren't, it's like a holodeck thing. I mean, I guess like a holodeck can be fun to experience certain things, like whatever.
Have you had a lot of experience with a holodeck?
No, but I mean, as an imaginative leap, right? As an imaginative leap. But you always know that that there are limits and that it's not authentic human experience that you're getting.
Ebony, what's your answer?
You remember how I said that there would probably be some people who would watch this show and have to ask themselves, how much ersatz luxury would I like? Yeah, I'm telling you, I mean, no. Do you hear the disappointment in my voice as I say no to the hub? But I would think about it, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I would think about it.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Yeah. I'm with Ebony on this, where it's like, no, but can we just think about it for a quick second?
Yeah. So like, if I had a friend who was in the hub and I could occasionally, hang out at the hub, and then they'd be like, oh, you should just stay, whatever. I would definitely take long holidays in the hub.
No, that's not the question.
Probably never leave.
No long holidays.
Okay.
All or nothing, babe.
Okay. Oh, damn. Okay.
All right, y'all. Let us know if you would go live in the hub. We'll be right back. Just really quick, I wanted to remind y'all that the Games and Online Harassment Hotline is here for you, for your friends and your colleagues. We provide emotional support to folks who make or play games, which is such a broad range of people. So, you might not need it today, but maybe you need it tomorrow. So we just want you to know about it. You can learn more at gameshotline.org. What's your freak out? Now it's time to talk about what's been thrilling us, moving us, upsetting us, or infuriating us this past week. Carolyn.
Yo.
What do you got?
Well, Ebony actually mentioned it briefly earlier in the show. Among other fine offerings on HBO Max is a series currently 3 episodes in called Mare of Easttown. And
is that the one with the Titanic chick?
Oh my God.
Kate Winslet?
Yeah, Kate Winslet.
How dare you? How dare you?
I know.
She is
I don't actually mean that, everybody.
She
I
is
know
a
Kate Winslet is
formidable
wonderful.
actor, and she is one of the big reasons to watch this series. I mean, it is a great performance. You know, not just because her accent is so terrific, but her accent is terrific. But yeah. So she is a murder cop, right? She is a and of course I always have some conflicted feelings about enjoying media that is about police officers. So this is a series. It's set in like a small Pennsylvania community, and what is fascinating to me about this show is, first of all, it's because it's a close-knit community, right? As she is investigating the central murder of the series, everyone involved or potentially involved so far seems to be like, it's her cousin, or like her best friend's cousin, or her cousin's best friend, or whatever. But you really get that feeling of all the personalities in the community. You even characters who get a fairly small amount of screen time feel like wholly, developed kind of people, right? Complicated, interesting people with their own, well developed personalities and their own like lives and relationships and everything. So which I just love. I mean, her character is, also fascinating because she is deeply flawed, to put it mildly. New episodes come out every Sunday, and in the episode that came out last night, she does something truly heinous. I mean, like something like truly fucked up to another person, but and this is not to excuse it, but like the act comes out of her own like grief, because she is raising her grandson, and her son has died, and so she has all this like her own personal history and tragedy, and she's trying to like, I think in her own mind, maybe like make amends for maybe mistakes she made when raising her own son, or the show is kind of slowly peeling back the layers of who she is, but Kate Winslet just gives her so much depth, and yeah, it's one of those shows that because her police captain, who knows what she did, comes and is like, I'm not gonna like totally fire you or destroy you for this awful thing you did, but you need to like take these steps because I know you're worth saving. That's one of his line is, I know you're worth saving, because, and I love that. And I'm like, well, yes, I mean, she is worth saving. She does deserve a chance to make things better if she puts in the work. But, who in media, who in real life, as we've kind of discussed before, who gets those like second or third or fourth chances, who, after they fuck up or do wrong or, whatever. Obviously those questions are present here, but anyway, anyway, it's really, for me and for Ebony anyway, I think the show is kind of like catnip. It's so good. And the central crime is, tragic and horrifying but it seems like it's building up to be quite a twisty mystery, which, is fun even as it's tragic. So anyway, Mare of Easttown is what I'm into these days.
It's so good. It reminds me of Happy Valley, which might be my absolute favorite procedural out there. Same, like similar sort of conceits to begin with, like a woman, deeply flawed woman dealing with grief, raising her grandchild because her young child has died, the parent. And one of the things that has struck me watching this show, and I realize this is an an obvious observation, but I had never really thought about it much before, is that it is one of the things that appeals to me about Mare of Easttown, shows like Happy Valley, other shows like it, is that it offers us a really lived in, authentic is a tricky word here, but certainly authentic feeling representation of working class life.
Yes.
And it makes me angry and sad that the place that we find those characters so often are in crime shows, you know, and we should really sit with why that is. But man, I mean, just the texture of like the decor of some of the houses, like of Mare's friends or family, you know, the clothes they wear, what counts as like being dressed up, you know, the kinds of foods they eat, the way they eat, like it's got such depth to it and three-dimensionality.
It really does.
And I am just really, really enjoying it. And yeah, you know, as Caro said, like Mare is complicated and she's far from perfect. And there are times you want to shake her. There's this great scene in episode 2 where she is interrogating, or, you know, about to interrogate a suspect for the main crime of the show. And it's this other young girl who I think is a teenager. I don't know that she's 18 yet. So I don't know that she can really even legally be there without her parents. But Mare is continuing to try and provoke her into revealing something. And the girl, to her credit, even though she's a complete shit, is like, lawyer, you know? And Mare keeps pushing her. And, you know, I'm just like, the way that we as a viewer are supposed to watch this is that, yes, we want her to provoke a reaction out of this girl who is a shit, who's a bitch, you know, who might be responsible for, you know, this young girl's death. But there's also, you know, the ACAB part of me who's like, like lawyer up immediately. Like, Mare, this is not how you are, you know, are supposed to conduct yourself in an interrogation room. Like, you are in the wrong here. Even if you were convinced that this suspect had something to do with the crime, you are behaving unethically here, you know? And the show gives us space for that. So yeah, I'm liking the show. I'm loving it.
Cool. Did you have a freak out of your own?
I had one. I was going to freak out not about the show, but about the fact that we keep returning to this fetid well. So I watched Without Remorse, which is the new Tom Clancy adaptation on Amazon Prime. It's got Michael B. Jordan.
Okay, hold on. Before you continue.
Yeah. Yes.
I keep seeing ads for this shit, and y'all know Michael B. Jordan is my husband.
Right. Well,
I tried to talk him out of this shit.
Good. You should have tried harder. You should have tried harder.
Like, literally, my heart was broken seeing him in a Tom Clancy fucking movie show, whatever.
I love Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, you do.
I will say
you officiated our wedding, remember?
Yeah, when I fully supported y'all getting together. I do not think he was right for this role, but then I don't care about this role, this story. So, like, Tom, you know what you're going to get when it's Tom Clancy. You know, it's not Jack Ryan, but it's the same sort of character. Like, it's this very, like, you know, jingoistic, pro-America, you know, bullshit, right? You know, but you have a film like The Hunt for Red October, which at least has the, you know, the cojones, you know, to actually deliver some decent writing and some sophistication and some, you know, compelling performances. But this was just tired. It was just tired. And so much of it just felt like, you know, a slog to get through. There are occasional moments of, like, you know, really propulsive action scenes. But the thing that I'm freaking out about is that why do we keep doing these movies? I want the CIA to not exist, but I certainly don't need to see them on our screens anymore. And no, it is not enough for a film or a TV show to suggest that the problem at the CIA or at the State Department or at the FBI is a few bad apples, but the institution as a whole absolutely is something that's necessary.
I don't disagree with you at all. I just would like to say that you both just freaked out for a very long time about a cop show. So I'm just going to, like, put that out there.
Anita, I am well acquainted with my hypocrisies. I contain multitudes.
It's true.
But no, But so I will say, Anita, this film not worth watching unless you watch it with the sound off. There is some delicious eye candy of your husband, Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, I
but
see him every day.
You know what?
It's fine.
Okay, well then good. No need to worry about this. So
I was so sad to see that. I didn't watch it, obviously.
And also, it commits, to be honest, the cardinal sin for me. Jodie Turner-Smith is in this. One of the most beautiful human beings ever to walk this planet. She is an exquisite, dark-skinned Black woman. If they found a light so you could actually see her on screen, it would have been great. But for a full 2/3 of the movie, she's just dark against the screen. You know, it is a crime. It is a crime how Black people are poorly lit. So many people just do not give a shit, you know, and it is possible. If you do not know how to light people of varying skin tones in one shot, you don't know how to light. That should be part of your training, you know? It's so, yeah. Anyway.
Cut that out and put it all over the internet, please.
Exactly.
I don't have a freak out, but I am freaking out about how fucking trash Malcolm and Marie is. That's all I'm going to say. Trash. Don't watch it. Don't ever bring it up. It's the worst.
Girl, you so late.
What?
I said, you so late. We had this cultural conversation.
I know. Whatever.
Okay.
That's it. That's my whole thing. People have already talked about how trash it is. I suffered through it, and I needed to get that out.
I mean, they should watch, though, that one TikTok about Malcolm and Marie's neighbor, right? Where the neighbor is like,
oh my God,
his neighbor says,
Ryan
I love
Ken.
this line. So, because I haven't even seen Malcolm and Marie, but the one line from the TikTok is something like, it's, you know, he's still out there hollering about Barry Jenkins.
Yes.
You know, and anyway, it's perfect.
That's so good. All right. Well, I watched 5,000 movies, so join us in the bonus episode where I give you deep dives into the 5,000 movies I watched this week. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening,
Next
everyone.
week, we'll be tackling the topic. We'll do another topic episode of fame and fandom. And thanks for all your feedback on the left reading episode we did. I know y'all like when we do topics, so here you go. I'm not going to promise that we'll do more, but we're doing one next week.
That should be a juicy one.
Yeah, it'll be good. Our show is engineered by Rob Parra. Carrie Stimson provides technical support, artwork by Jamie Varon, and our intro music is by Phil Circus. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.